Okay, my friends, so this topic that I'm going to be talking to you about once again clearly does not get mentioned enough, because the amount of people that we get emailing us, calling us, speaking to us in person, and when I ask them a simple question of their process of drying the vehicle and looking after their base layer of protection, pretty much 97% is a wrong answer. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to maintain whatever base that you've got, whether it's a coating, sealant, spray wax, 100,000 other things. How do you safely top the vehicle with a dedicated product whilst not scratching it and whilst keeping it super glossy, all in one step? Let's go. Now, the number one method that most people say how I dry the car, let me know in the comments if you're one of these people. You'll be in the vast majority. You've just rinsed the car off, it's wet. What do? Take a drying towel, boom, it's dry, okay? Most people do that. However, here's a trick that I'm going to show you. This is the first trick if you don't have a blower in your arsenal. Now, the vehicle is wet. What you should be doing, as you could see, in this case, red paint. This, the finest custom-made South Korean microfiber technology money can buy. You're fine, see? I'm now touching the paint. However, every time you do this, it's a very, you're talking a minuscule abrasive. So if you do it once, no problem. But of course, we don't just dry our cars once, we do it weekly, sometimes twice a week in the summer. So what you want to be doing is you want to be taking a dedicated drying aid like this. And as you're going to see here, right now, I'm putting a micron of slickness, and that micron is currently the barrier. Now at this point, when the drying towel hits it, the current fibers are technically not touching the paint. They are touching the micron of slickness that is currently on the clear coat. And then what you would do is you would very gently dry the paint. Now what you will instantly feel is an out of this world experience in terms of slickness. I'm in direct sunlight. There is no streaking, there's no spotting, there is no nothing. This is why a dedicated drying aid is also important, because nowadays people who use, let's say, quick detailers aren't quick detailers anymore. It's in the word, quick detailer. Now, I don't need to tell you this, but some detailers nowadays are lasting you 8 weeks, 12 weeks. They're hybrid, very light spray sealants at this point, whereas a drying aid should have no protective properties whatsoever, because you're not trying to protect the car at this point. The car should be protected. Imagine you've got a paste wax on, just to keep it very simple, because everybody can have a paste wax on their car. At this point, you want to be maintaining that level of protection without actually inhibiting the base protectant. So these hybrid light spray sealants now, which are mistakenly called quick detailers, are actually now inhibiting, but also when you put it on wet, because that technology is not made for water, what you start seeing when you see the sun is you look and you go, oh man, I've got a streak, I've pushed too much product. You take another towel or even the same drying towel and you start buffing on it. Stuff starts to roll downhill and snowball very fast at this point. You're touching your car more than you should, and you're beginning to buff the car when technically you shouldn't need to. So our drying aid, we've had to call it detailer because a lot of people in this industry don't know what is a drying aid. And some people think it's actually a rinse aid, which is again a different product category altogether. When you say drying aid, people are like, oh yeah, it's the product you spray and rinse. Completely different. So we've called this purely for the Google search term, because how many products out there are really called drying aids? Probably like 3 out of 9 million products. So it's very hard to get a ranking in that way. But as you've seen on the website or the media that I'm filming for you right now, this is a dedicated drying aid. Very simple to use. You're just doing this. Look, there's nothing. Obviously I've got Glass Plus underneath here, and now it is protecting kind of the abrasive style of the drying towel now on the Glass Plus. In this case, I've got Foam Plus on the paint. So these things are designed ultimately when we're in weather like this. The sun, my friends, does not lie. So the last thing you want is somebody like me walking in your local supermarket car park looking, going, this guy doesn't know what he's doing with washing the car, because all the old people still wash like this. Maybe they've got one bucket that they use for the wheels and they go directly onto the paint. So again, if you want to wash your car like that, not a problem, but is it the right way? Absolutely not. Now, I'm going to now show you how to top your base layer of protection if you were to have a blower. Now at this point, this is where you get into, I would say, probably the top 5% of the 1% of the people who know a thing or two about professionally looking after their car. So, you know, I hate kind of stereotyping people, but you know the people that I'm talking about. The cars, irrespective of brand, are their sanctuary. It's their kind of home, their HQ, and they will go in and they will professionally wash a car as if they're pro detailers, but they may be a doctor, for example. I'm just stereotyping here. So, do you know how hard it is to sell this process? It's unbelievably hard. The first point is you need to protect your car up to the hilt. A lot of people are like, huh? After that, some people who come in and say, I've got 52 layers of spray sealant, and I'm like, great. Now you need a blower that can move planets. Now this is even harder to kind of explain to people, but the people who do know protection and force their blowing, as I said, top 5% of the 1%. Now, again, as you can see by this car, this sun's bleaching the living daylights out of this, but this car has got the tightest hydrophobic formation going, okay? I've got a base layer on, clearly, Foam Plus. Now, the goal is not to go and mess up that whole fantastic hydrophobic layer with something that's not supposed to be on the paint. But you're about to see just how easy it is now, and I think the real way to dry a car. Now, car's pretty much dry. It's got 14 beads. Again, coverage is all you need. Don't come in here and start doing this to where it's running. Look, it's just pointless. You're just wasting your product. All right, a light mist, you're done. The official, the sanctioned drying aid method. First, drying aid method towel number 1. This is your drying towel. All you're doing, literally, not even drying the car, you are just massaging the product into the paint, or the glass in this case. Now the paint. Right, car's technically dry. What you then do is you're going to flip to your secondary towel, and literally, this is the thing that I always say to people. This is what a drying aid does. You're not supposed to buff, so this technically is your leveling towel, but because this is an from the ground built drying aid, there is nothing to buff. But I always recommend, just in case I can't factor in every world condition there is, if something's dripped too much, like a panel gap, or the sun's peaked and done something, this is just your final precursor to a beautiful car. There we are. Look, I'm not rubbing on anything. I'm just literally moving it. Boom. That's how you do a forced air blow on a drying aid method. All right, guys. So, as I said, this is probably in the top 2 most misunderstood steps, processes, I think, within a generic detail regimen. With the analytics that we have and the people that we speak to, I can say this quite confidently. Now, the way you dry a car is very, very important. We've got tens of thousands of hours under our hands of paint correction experience, whether it's the most basic enhancement, all the way to, you know, your dry sanding, wet sanding, full-on rotary paint corrections. Now, the majority of the damage that you guys pay for a very highly skilled detailer to remove is usually, stereotype of course, if this is a brand new flawless car, is usually caused by you. Now, people think, oh, it's a drying towel, it's not going to do anything. But if you wash your car for 600, 700, 800 times and you're rubbing on it, then you're micro scratching it to a point where a micro scratch is invisible, but 8,000 of them are of course extremely visible, especially in direct sunlight. And this is where the finish of the car gets affected. Now, when the direct sunlight hits and you look at it instantly and you're like, right, it's been washed with a brick. But that is not the only caveat to this. Even when it's overcast, have you walked past some cars? We get this all the time, but this is why I love overcast weather. In direct sunlight, of course, you're getting ping. However, in overcast, the car changes completely kind of different characteristics. Have you ever walked past a car in a street, in a car park, and you've just looked at it and you're like, wow, that is unbelievable. Now that's caused by paint depth and proper washing techniques, because the way the light hits, imagine I'm the paint, it's going to hit me and it should, in theory, come straight back at you. This is the direct line of sight, straight forward, straight back, or up and down, right? Now, badly maintained cars, the light refracts in millions of different directions, and this is where you see obviously swirls and scratches, and that's how light works, but also this is where you get a dulling of the paint. I'm not saying your black car is all of a sudden a grey car, but the black isn't as rich and as deep and as clear as it should be. And I've gone deep on this, but it's simply caused by either very, very bad washing or very, very bad drying techniques. And all you've got to do is just use a dedicated product in the step. You've got the drying towel in your hand, whether you blow the car or not. Imagine you don't. You've got the big blue drying towel in your hand. You're going to throw it onto the paint anyway. Even miss the towel, there is just enough to really help you get in between the clear coat and the towel. Now that you guys know all of this information without making it 17 hours long, I hope this has helped at least one person, whoever watches this across the world. Just try it. Spray something like our dedicated drying aid either onto the towel or into the paint and dry the car. Give it 4 weeks. So give it 4 car washes if you do once a week. And you tell me if it doesn't change your life, okay? I will be very, very surprised that if it doesn't change your life. It's just absolutely crazy what a dedicated product can do to paint. Now, please let me know in the comments, who does this method? Of course, I have converted a lot of people to this method. Now, this method is quite popular in the States. It's very slowly making its way into UK and Europe. I mean, if you watch back in the archives, I've been doing it, 7 years ago now. A lot of people just dry and walk away. So this is why 99.9% of cars on the road look like absolute garbage in terms of the paint quality, because people just don't know the basics. But please let me know in the comments, which method do you do? Do you just have no blow and you're doing a big blue drying towel treatment, which is perfectly fine, it's beautiful? Or are you blowing the car dry and almost doing a drying aid to a physically dry car? I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I hope this helps at least one person, and of course I will catch you all on the very next one. See you guys soon.